we have a quorum, so we should get started. And I think the first thing is we have minutes from the August meeting.
Oh, I still have your notes on here.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I have the one abstention since I was not present.
Do you want us to talk about it being recorded?
Yes, thank you. I have my sign up, but I should say it verbally.
Yes.
We are being recorded by DCTV. Thank you, Margaret.
So tell that man from New Orleans,
Right.
we're all set. We've fulfilled our obligation.
Yes. And from any other state in the union as well, so. So our microphones are on, so mind your side conversations. And we will move forward with our business. And we have an invoice.
We do. And this is for the footbridge, I believe.
Yeah, is this the Cornell Pond, or?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, so this is for, Cornell Pond, the amount is, $5,359.
It's better over here. You can see it better.
Yep, and do we have a project status report that came with it?
Sure do.
Excellent.
All my notes.
I can pass that along with this, how's that? And this is the survey, site survey work, which is described as 85% complete, so let me pass that along. As folks know, we revised the budget since they didn't get the Mass Trails grant, and they're going forward with a scope of work, which is kind of doing the site survey and initial planning kind of aspect of building a trail out there and an accessible trail at Cornell Pond.
So I'm not sure if we went through all of these. I thought I had these for the August meeting.
Yes, we need to go through
Okay.
those, so we will do that. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
And then, related to the minutes, Margaret, I want to make sure that we record, say, into our meeting. Margaret had raised in July meeting, how much has the CPA, how much CPA funds have been committed to the Aiken House project? And so I went back and looked at our records, but I wasn't able to come to our August meeting. So I wrote to Margaret after she reached out to me about that question. And so I want to make sure that we've all heard the same thing. So up until this request, there have been three awards to the Aiken House. The first was in 2003 for $185,000. The second was in 2008 for $195,000. And then 2015 for $265,000. That totals $645,000. And then we have the current request that we're forwarding to town meeting for $22,800. But I want to make sure we all heard those.
Thank you,
Those
buddy.
figures, yeah.
I had a question, and I didn't
Yeah.
get to ask it because you weren't here. May I ask it now
Oh,
of you?
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
The Aiken House, and I think it's a great project, but I have a couple of questions. How come there's no board for that house? In other words, how come there's not a board like every other organization in the town has a board, okay? And the second question I have, and you read the minutes, what are the long-term plans for that house? Because, as I mentioned at the meeting, I go to Four Corners for ice cream on Sundays, okay? And there's a house there that is an antique house in Tiverton, the oldest house. Have you, you know where I'm talking about, Sue? Do you know?
I think
that?
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So, every Sunday afternoon, they have someone there, all dressed up and like a pilgrim and, you know,
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And she's not there all day, she's there maybe from 1 to 3. I'd like to see something like that for the Aiken House. So I would like to know what are the long-term on that, and how come that has no board of directors or anything? Just, it seems to me there's just one person that's handling everything. Shouldn't you have a board to decide?
Yeah, I believe they do have, the DHPT does have a board. Now, we have only dealt with Diane, but DHPT does have a board. I don't know all their members, but they do have a board of directors. I did have a meeting with Cody Haddad, because I had not yet caught up with, to say hello, welcome him as
Yes.
the new administrator. And so I met with him last week and went over just a number of things that we're currently, just let him know where our balances were, let him know about some of the things we were working on. And one of the things that Aiken House did come up in the conversation, and I had mentioned that, what we had before us and the recommendation was being made to town meeting, and I sent the warrant to him. And that certainly one of the things that we knew was in the offing was to get a new lease. And that, as we have with other sponsors, if that was going to end up as, that would be a condition at some point if town meeting approved funding, we would certainly need to make sure that the town had a current lease with DHPT for the property. And that invited a conversation about leasing and the town's approach to leasing to organizations like DHPT. And it sounded to me from that, he was very interested in structuring a lease in which there was a value for the property, rent, but it could be in kind, valued in terms of services provided.
Right.
So I think there's real interest in, I think it's the same approach that they're taking with the Dartmouth Cultural Center, the old Southworth Library, is.
And they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, but really needing to see that there are services and programs for the community that are occurring at these properties, that are town-owned properties. So it'll be interesting. I think clearly he seemed to be on that page of, it would be important to see some programs and things, and they do some things there, but I think that's certainly an eye for that.
I think that's an asset for the town, it's a good
Yeah.
asset, but in my background, you need to use that asset also for the town. They just can't sit there and twice a year you use it, because that's not, in my opinion, it's not correct, okay? You need to do something. And I think some kind of term and conditions should be written into the lease regarding that. That's my feeling, of course.
Sounds like,
I'm not Mr. Savastano, but.
no, but it sounds like from Cody, he has a
Feels the
vision
same
about
way?
that,
Okay.
because he's seeing both the Aiken House and the Old Southworth Library as similar kinds of, they're town-owned properties.
Right.
There are entities who are leasing them, the benefit then is that there are things occurring that are a benefit to other folks in town. They can attend or see and things like that, so.
Well, is Diane still on that board?
Yes.
Oh, she
Yes, I
is.
believe so.
Okay.
I don't know much about the board, but I'm
Okay.
pretty certain that she's still on the board, yeah.
Buddy,
Yes,
just to get, I wasn't at the last meeting, but my understanding, the project was approved, am I?
Yes.
The funds were approved.
To be recommended to town meeting, yes.
Right, right. And to Margaret's question, yeah, there absolutely is. But if you go to the Dartmouth Heritage Preservation Trust, they have a fabulous website with all the information that you could ever look for on, what this organization does and has done in the past with encampments and events they have throughout the year, archaeology digs they've done. But like anything else, organizations have a tough time finding volunteers, But I'm on it now. They got a fabulous website. People should check it out. Learn a lot about what they've done and what they're doing.
All right, great, thank you. So probably more on that, because the town we've got to negotiate a lease for that property, and, well, actually, what they have to do, they have to put out an RFP for
Right.
the leases. So
I saw it in the paper.
I'm kind of jumping the
Yeah.
gun. So both for the Old Southworth Library and Aiken House, they need to publicly advertise that.
It's being advertised now.
For tenants. Yep.
Thank you, buddy, for looking that up.
Yeah, you're welcome. The invoice has made its way to you, John, I think. Is that right?
Yep. Motion to approve the invoice for $5,359 to Comprehensive Environmental, Inc. for the Dartmouth Footbridge and Trail feasibility survey, I guess they performed out there with this invoice.
Second.
Any questions, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, and we do have, you have a nice copy of things. I'm going to read off of yours, but some project status reports that have come in July. The Dartmouth Regional Dog Park, they have reviewed the bid submissions and awarded the project to Ramco Survey Stake Company. And after looking at the bid submissions, they've determined that there's $126,830 gap that will need to be funded, and the town submitted a line item transfer request to the Finance Committee for the funds, which will allow the town to move forward. And they anticipate finalizing a construction contract in July, with a notice to proceed to follow from that. And, John, you're on finance, do you recall that I imagine that transfer went through for the dog park?
It's gonna be at town meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
there'll be an article for the
Okay.
transfer. Finance committee, no, it doesn't have to, I'm sorry, because it came out of our funds. It won't be at town meeting. Yes, we did approve it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all
it
right,
doesn't have to go to
Okay.
town meeting.
all right, great. So we will probably hear next when it comes with an invoice.
Oh,
So that's probably exciting. The dog park
I know.
folks are probably like doing somersaults. They have,
They've been working hard forever on that.
They
thing.
have.
have, they really have.
They're very persistent, they're very active, that's the
Yes.
difference.
held up their end, which is.
And then some.
Yes,
Yeah.
they've done a good
Yeah.
job.
That's great. We also have a status report on the housing production plan. And I think I have later in our agenda, just checking in on that, if there's any update. But as of the June 30th update that we have, the town has held 2 stakeholder committee meetings and has conducted a survey. And Serped has put together a growth model for housing development. And there's some additional data on permits, mortgages, rental, and real estate trends that are being collected this summer, with September as the month where there's some expectation that some drafting of goals will start to happen. And we'll talk about that in a little bit later in this agenda. And then we, as we just seen from the Cornell Pond Trail design, the survey work is underway. At this time, it was the end of June, and now we've seen that it's 85% complete. The housing rehab loan program, the town council, the current is still on hold. It's one thing I did talk to Cody about, that we really are looking to, it's an important program we'd like to see move forward and get back online. As of June 30th, it's reported that town council is requiring that the contracts be rewritten to provide the town additional liability coverage and address procurement protocols for projects. Once the contracts are revised, the program will be reopened to applicants. And Cody did talk about, he and Chris have talked about this program and ways to really promote it, particularly among older folks who, may be faced with things like Title V kind of work, something significant, but they're on a fixed income, and they would be very likely benefit and be eligible for a program like this.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Buddy, Westport, I get the Westport, whatever it's called, and they have an ad in the Westport all the time about their project like this, okay, funding for housing rehab and stuff. And I made a copy and I forgot to bring it. I'll send
okay.
it to Michelle, okay? And you can send it to Buddy, because I thought it was a pretty good,
Yeah, okay.
it's only a small little ad, but it's in there every week, so.
Uh-huh, all right, that would be great.
Yeah, I copied it, forgot to bring it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The Heritage Trail update, July 14th. The project is back on track. That's good news. As a contractor has been hired to install the wayfaring signs, and they will install approximately 35 road signs along the 33-mile trail. And they expect that work will be completed by the end of August, so we may find some time in that.
One just went up right next door to me
Oh, really? Oh, I'll have to look for them.
this week, yeah.
All right, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. So that's great news.
Small, it's not very big.
Oh,
It's up.
I'll try to ride I'll try to ride slow so I'll be able to see them.
You gotta go through the stop sign on your right.
Okay, right, just as
See
you.
on my brother's and frontage next door.
Okay, great, I'll look for that. Harbor dredging and design, at the end of June, the town had received the draft report from the engineering firm, and the final dredge feasibility report was submitted. So the project is now completed and came under budget by $3,000. So I will reach out to just confirm that there is, whether there is a surplus of CPA grant funds, and if so, we'll recapture them and they'll go back into the reserve, I think probably the Open Space Recreation Reserve. The Dartmouth Housing Trust, the Affordable Housing Trust met in the fourth quarter to review the program budget, as well as authorize an RFP for a program consultant to update and administer the program. And to address the rising home mortgage rates and home prices, the program's terms and conditions will need to be updated to ensure the program can benefit residents as intended. And the consultant's going to help the town with this. So that's kind of underway. They'd like to resurrect the home buyer program, But they really need to kind of look at the terms and conditions to see how the program can actually be feasible, given the housing prices and the mortgage rates. How much, this is basically a buy down, how much money is it going to take to buy down the cost of the housing to make it affordable for somebody. And Cody did mention that, that was underway, and he's sounded confident that they would be able to put something out and see if they can find a property and an owner or a buyer, eligible buyer that can work. And that's going to be a challenge, given the housing prices. The Pascamanskett, Aponigencet, Dias Landing Master Plan. They received approval from the Economic Council. I think, is that the SEC, the State Economic Council? SEC. On an amended project timeline. The completion date has been moved to June 30th, 2026. And the project is basically going to be on hold until FY '26.
We're in.
Yes, so I think with the new town administrator, everybody kind of get up to speed. Sounds like they'll then go forward with this planning effort. And then the Dias Landing Pier Extension, project's been substantially completed, and they had the dedication in June. There are some, as of June 30th, there were some punch list items. I know they want to get a sign. They have a sign, but there was an inquiry from Donna Fernandez asking me about whether or not the CPA funds could be used for the sign that they installed. And I looked at the scope of work and had to say that it wasn't in there. But having gone over to the site and looked at the sign, it reminded me that they had not put up any acknowledgement of the CPA funds, which is one of the things that we typically require. And then they wrote back, if they included the acknowledgement of the could that be in the sign? Could that be? And I said, yes, if it's a sign that has our acknowledgement of the CPA funding, that's what the MOU is. So I think they may be working on how there is a sign that has the name of the landing and marina and acknowledgement to the CPA funding.
It's only fair.
So more to come on that, I think. But it's just about done. Those are all the project updates we have. Things are moving on. Really nice to see that finally the Heritage Trail signs are going up, because I think that's another group, all volunteers, that kind of really stuck it out, trying to get some movement, trying to figure out how they could do this. So I'm glad to see that there's finally a breakthrough in that.
John, was the sign that they put up one that looks as though it'll still be there a year from now?
Was it, I'm sorry?
Was the sign that the Heritage Trail people put up by your house, did it look as though it's constructed in place such that it will be there in a year?
It's a typical steel street sign
mean,
post with a little metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, somebody drives up the road, they, you know, yes, it should be in here as long
Okay,
as,
but it's
but, signs get run over all the time.
fine.
Yeah.
I think the big question for them is if they're documenting where the signs are. That's the town's biggest Achilles heel, is they put signs up and then you drive by, there's an empty pole and you go, what was
What was
there?
there?
So I think the Heritage, I mean, that's something, if, when they finish up, that they should be you know, a list of where the signs are.
It should be a
Location, you know,
yeah.
even like
Good point.
measurements, like
Yep,
Good
20 feet
idea.
off a pole.
good idea.
Because it happens throughout the town. You drive down the street, and there was one on Elm Street for about 15 years, like, we look at it, it's a round pole, so we knew it was an old one. No idea it was on it.
They steal signs all the time. Kids steal 'em.
If it was a
Well,
useful
just-
sign, I'd remember.
They could have been, that's the problem. I mean, there are things they put up there, and they get borrowed. People borrow the signs. You know, White Reed Drive, that
Well,
sign.
That's a nice,
always
yeah,
gets-
very nice.
gets
Yeah,
taken.
yeah, that's-
That
I
one's
say
gone.
steal.
So that's a great, that's an important thought. I think what I can do is follow up with the Heritage Trail folks. They would take the time to do that.
Yeah.
And that's probably a really, really helpful thing.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, I will do that.
Should take a GPS reading at everyone.
Yeah, well, the town was starting to do that with, you know, just-
Yeah.
And would, the highway department would have a copy of that list?
they didn't do it, they won't put it up. If the highway department didn't install it, then they wouldn't know where it is
But they would at least know what was on the pole.
Not
necessarily. No,
No.
no, there's a little bit of disconnect.
Yeah,
Right.
so I can certainly advise the Heritage folks to document where the signs
I mean, it's
are.
10 years down the line,
And
somebody.
share it with the highway department, share it with them.
So
So,
even if it's in the file that we
Yeah.
have here, something comes up where, I mean, if we're paying for it, we might not, if it's missing,
yeah,
we have to replace it. It'd be nice to know what's missing if they're gonna spend all this money on these signs to help people
yeah.
for the trail, so.
Well, I mean, if they, on observing that there was a naked pole, knew what had been on the pole and advised the Heritage Trail people that your sign's gone.
All right, housing production plan. Margaret, you can-
Yes, I went to the meeting, and we're going to meet again in October. Interesting, the survey came back, the first time they did it was 100 people, the second time 413 people replied to the survey. So that was really good. And I have slides of the meeting that they sent me, but they didn't send to me, they sent to the committee. So I was going to ask if I could send them to Michelle, and she could send them all, so you can see exactly what's
Yeah.
going on.
that would be great.
By slides, is that all right? Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
How is it shaping up in terms of the, is it a productive committee? in
Yes,
your-
it is,
yeah?
it's, I had to leave a little early, but it is a productive committee, everybody has different ideas.
Yeah,
And it's interesting about the statistics for the houses that are selling or that people are looking for. So it is a very interesting committee. And the slides were very good that Serped did for us, and I think you'll get a lot out of them. I'll send them tomorrow.
all right, great. I think it was the Sunday Globe, the front page, one of the front page articles was about
Yes.
how the South Coast was really a very attractive place to try to buy a home.
Well, the woman came from, I forget where, Quincy maybe, I don't
Yeah,
know, and she
yeah, something like
bought a
that.
house in Mattapoisett. So I read it, and she paid 800 and something thousand for a house in Mattapoisett, and she thought that was a bargain.
Yeah.
Because she could,
Yeah.
she lived in Plymouth, she moved from Boston to Plymouth, and then she didn't like Plymouth, and she came down here, so, which is true, and now with the train.
Yep,
well,
now with the
although a lot
train.
of people don't like
Yep.
the train, but now with the train, people are thinking that that's a good thing, but that'll happen, but what happens unfortunately is more people come from Boston to buy, the prices
Puts
go up.
puts pressure on the
Did
price.
they take into consideration that proposed development that they're talking about? Maybe
Which one?
Tucker Road? Bill Hawthorne?
No, we didn't, when I was there, we didn't speak about that.
Is that, I mean,
We have two, we have that one and we have Hathaway Road.
we have Hathaway Road, that one,
And we have another one on Old Westport Road.
which is that the one that's behind the ledge, right?
And
Oh, that would be
it's-
Fisher Road.
Across from Dartmouth Orchard.
Thank you. It's across from
The old
Yeah.
Mellow?
the old Mellow
Yeah.
field. That's a big one, too.
That's a big one. Yeah,
That's
a
a
lot of
big one.
property there.
So we have 3 big projects coming up.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
We'll see. That one has some potential issues.
Yes, it does
I
have
would imagine
potential
that it
issues.
probably would, being that it was a,
Dump.
yeah.
And the water issue on that property, I mean, there's all, because of what it was a gravel pit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So that has a lot of issues, but that's a big development also. So the
It's not gonna
town,
go across the street behind, well, that's a town aquifer, so it wouldn't go
Right.
there.
it's right across the street from
Yeah,
Brian's.
he owned, because he owned both, they owned both pieces of property,
Right.
had that, the right of way that the town had,
Right.
and he owned the ponds back there.
Right,
So, I'm assuming it's to where the actual physical plant was.
Right.
From there, yeah, that's
then
pretty
there's
aggressive.
another
that one.
project on Route 6 that is,
It's behind the
Oh.
ledge,
yeah,
yeah, near the,
behind the ledge, that's another project coming in. And then there's another project on Route 6 that I just heard about today, or last night I heard about, okay,
the one on Route 6.
yeah. Across from the ledge,
Oh, where the old House of Pancakes used to be, back there?
right around there, yeah. So that's another one, housing.
Yeah, that one go-
Altogether,
That one goes all the way back to Connecticut Avenue then, that'd be the one that goes back there by the,
altogether, we're gonna have probably 1,000 more houses in the town of Dartmouth.
well, that's what I'm getting at with the housing plan, is that something that,
Well,
how's that gonna,
well, I don't know how it's gonna affect, because by the time those projects come into fruition, because that's gonna take 2 years. I mean, 40Bs going through a town.
Right.
Right, John? It takes about 2 years to get through a 40B. So I don't
How
know.
long has the ledge has been going on? It's
Yeah.
been going on
Right.
for 5 or 6 years, they still
So,
haven't.
I mean-
But yeah, it's a long process.
It's a very long process, so we didn't really, I didn't really,
okay.
we didn't
Yeah,
discuss
Even on
that.
Dartmouth Street, you got Amelia 2 being built
Yeah.
over there.
All right, well, we'll keep getting updates, so that's helpful to
Yes.
know how that's coming together.
I didn't know about Mellows.
So some old business, the CPC website, Magnolia, has taken another job. So Cody let me know that they are recruiting for her replacement, and when they hire somebody, we'll be able to get back on board with
Wow, that was quick.
making the updates for our, the additional information for the projects that are on the map. So, and then open space preservation process, I'm going to the Conservation Commission on September 23rd to talk to the commission about this process and how the town needs to be requesting funds for conservation restrictions. And they have the option to jointly hold a conservation restriction. So I'm gonna go through that process and where the Conservation Commission fits into that, how the workload issue that is a big concern of Mark's, rightly so, could be addressed by jointly holding CRs, and that CPA can be used to fund the cost of that. So I kind of want to go over how that works, and I went over that with Cody as well when we met. And historic building inventory, Chris isn't here, but that's underway. There was a little bit of a hiccup, and I don't know if, I don't think Chris was able to make the August meeting, was she? All right. So there was a little bit of a hiccup in that the contractor had assumed that she could do her registry research online. And then discovered that Bristol County registry does not have all of its records digitized, so that a lot of the research has to happen at the registry. So she hadn't planned on the travel and the time to do that. So at first, she felt that it was going to be hard to do the number of forms that were in the scope of work. But it sounds like they've talked that through, and, because I said, well, they could come back to the committee with a revised scope of work that had a lower number, based on what they felt could be done, but then I think they talked further, and there's no change in the scope of work or the price of the contract, so that is moving forward. And then the Agricultural Preservation Fund. So that's taken a really interesting favorable turn of events. And I forwarded to folks the email from Brian Cruz. But basically, we had, in July, had asked town council to please confirm whether or not the Agricultural Preservation Trust in Dartmouth was an eligible entity for CPA funds. Or did something like the Agricultural Preservation Fund or Agricultural Fund under the state statute 40, was that the entity that had to be in place to receive CPA funds? And so I got a response from Brian Cruz, Anthony's office, and talked to him over the phone. And basically, they confirmed the Agricultural Preservation Trust would be an ineligible entity for CPA funds. And from their point of view, questionable in its authority in the way it was set up back in the late 90s. But nevertheless, in 2016, I believe it was, the statute got amended to add this agricultural fund under an agricultural commission, which is pretty, as we had learned in the work group, was the mirror image of what a conservation fund is. And indeed, that would be CPA eligible, and doesn't require town meeting approval. So it basically is an accounting, it gives authority for the town accountant or town treasurer to establish that fund. And so basically, the Agricultural Commission can set up that fund and receive donations to the fund, including apply for CPA funds for it.
Ag Commission or a new Ag Preservation Trust?
The Agricultural Commission. So the statute's very clear. It's the Ag Commission that would oversee this ag fund. So
So you would still have an agricultural preservation fund?
it exists. I think the town council probably would say it shouldn't continue to conduct business, but that's not our problem. But going forward, an agricultural fund under the Agricultural Commission
Right.
is viable, can receive CPA funds, and in fact, Brian called me back about like 20 minutes later and said, I just wanted to just check and see if there's been any recent advisories and stuff, and sure enough, he sent me this link. The State Agricultural Commission had a roundtable in Westport in July. And out of that, there was, part of that roundtable was sharing information, and the town of Duxbury has set up a agricultural preservation fund under their agricultural commission. And they actually use CPA funds to acquire farmland and then lease it out. They signed a 10-year lease on farmland that the town acquired through the agricultural commission. So interesting. So I think that's pretty clear that would be the avenue if the Dartmouth Agricultural Commission wanted to pursue that. So I think, Susan, you can certainly share that with the commission. But I think the next step would probably be for folks to meet with Cody and Gary and say, we want to have a fund like this. We want to have the fund under this Chapter 48L. And then I think if the Ag Commission is interested in CPA funds, the Ag Commission through the town would apply in January for capitalizing the fund. Any questions about that? So it looks like it's possible. It doesn't require a town meeting vote to set up the entity.
Any entity that they're using, they really shouldn't be using,
Yeah.
theoretically.
That's, yeah. So it can't be the current,
So it makes sense
Trust.
to
yeah,
do it the right way.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. I think my suggestion would be, after, Cody and Gary and the Ag Commission, everybody is fine about having such a fund. And I think kind of looking at that statute and what one can do with that fund, then I think it probably would be helpful for the Ag Commission to send us a little eligibility consultation request, which would open up a conversation with the CPC and the Ag Commission about what the intention of the fund would be and how much money do you think the fund ought to have. It would be much, I think, for our work, a lot easier to have those conversations before an application is submitted, where we're on a pretty structured kind of timeline towards June town meeting. But if we had something in the fall, we could talk through what would it look like, how much money, is it a multi-year thing, what are we comfortable with, what are we not comfortable, it'd be great to have those conversations before January. That would inform kind of what an application, what would make sense and stuff. And then,
This is moving forward.
yes, no, this is very positive, very positive. And then we would, if it continued to progress towards having a fund and CPA funds capitalizing it, we would then work out the details of what a memorandum of understanding would look like so that it was clear about what the responsibilities were in managing that money and reporting back to the CPC and making sure that the CPA requirements are followed and all those sorts of things. I wrote to the folks in Duxbury after I read this thing about the roundtable and asked if they had any agreement between the CPC in Duxbury and the Ag Commission in Duxbury, and if they did, if they'd share it with us and we could look at it. So I think kind of in Ag Commission's kind of court about running with this. And then, but the earlier we can open up a conversation, if the Ag Commission wants to pursue this and the town's fine about pursuing it, the earlier we can open up a conversation here would be great. Any other thoughts or questions about
I'd
that?
just like to ask Sue a question. Susan, could you consider, say, a 6-acre parcel as a farm, 5-acre parcel as a farm?
Yeah, so there is no one standardized definition of what a farm is. So right now with right to farm law, or right to farm bylaw, it's 5 acres or greater.
Right.
Although there are some things working their way through the legislature, it needs to be, it's actually like a constitutional change to lessen that.
Less in it?
Yeah, because now that you have less and less land available and farmers getting more and more savvy about how they use the land and maybe getting more out of the land, you get smaller and smaller plots. And so you want to be able to put it in 61A so you can get that tax benefit. You know, it depends on.
Wouldn't it also depend on what you're growing or what you're,
Oh, absolutely. Like you can grow,
right?
our farm right now, you know, the farm we're renting is 10 acres.
Right.
We have about 2 acres in vegetables and we've got the rest kind of in chicken pasture. But I mean, we have about 125 families that come every week
Okay.
for our CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. So we're feeding 125 families off 2
So
acres.
it's 2 acres of land?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every farm's a little bit different. I mean, think, you know, discussing what can and can't be, the funds could or couldn't be used for.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and I think it would be great to be able to attract some young talent into this community, farming wise, and how.
And the
How to do
smaller
that.
lots would be affordable to start a farm.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of questions. So are we buying and buy, protect, sell? Or are we buying and renting that, you know, getting someone started sort of thing? Are you helping farmers that are already in town that maybe need more acreage or don't have a secure lease or something like that? I mean, just so many questions. And then I actually semi-recently had a farmer ask me, you know, it's great that the town has purchased land in the past and sold it to farmers, but what about farmers that are longstanding farmers? They already own their land, but they're struggling to make it. Is there any way that the town could help them? And I mean, that's a question that I wanted to, at some point, address. You know, can CPC funds, regardless if it's Ag Preservation Trust or something else we do, I mean, obviously, like a for-profit farm can't come to the CPC and say, you know, I want to build a new barn or something like that. But what is there, I need to look into like what can you know, is there a way to help farmers besides just purchasing land, or is the CPA
Yes.
funds?
I think
Like-
there is a way. We discussed it briefly at planning, because when you do a 61A, of course, certain, the parcel that the farmer lives in and all, regarding taxes. So maybe there's a way to help farmers regarding their real estate taxes based on a 61A and what that house is being taxed for.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, let's face it, there are no inexpensive real estate taxes anymore. So,
Yeah.
I mean, things like that, because let's face it, where I live used to be all farms, okay, and now it's not. We have a couple, but not like we used to. And I really hate that, because we had steers across the street, we had lambs, it was wonderful. We don't have that
Yeah.
anymore. Okay,
Yeah,
kind of sad.
yeah. It's also, I'm hearing from farmers that it's a less and less accepting place of agriculture. Had someone called the police on a farmer because they thought some of their equipment was too loud. Very recently.
Is that a shocker?
Things like that. So, I mean, we definitely have
Wow, that's a direct result of that insane bylaw that we voted on, so that's a byproduct of that.
The noise
Yeah,
bylaw?
that's a byproduct of that, so people misinterpret how that works, so.
Well, I don't even think the
Farmers
person that complained even knew about the noise bylaw.
Oh, all right, yeah, that's
This was someone who said, I can't sleep with my window open because you're making too much
Well,
noise.
when I was on the zoning board, do you know what I used to tell those people? When did you buy your house? Oh, we bought the house last year. And the farm was there before you, right?
Yeah.
You knew what you were getting into. Please don't come back. Really?
But I think, yeah, I think these are a lot of conversations. I don't know if now is the right time, but,
Those have to be addressed, though. All those kind of problems have to be addressed at
yeah.
some point.
Yeah,
At some
but,
point.
Right.
but there's a general question of how can we preserve farmland? How can we attract new farmers into town or solidify younger farmers that are in town that maybe don't have secured land tenure? And then how can we just, in general, help farmers in town stay in business? Because it is a benefit to the town to have those farms stay. And I don't know if any, I don't know which pieces of that are CPC or CPA eligible for funds and things like that, but, yeah.
Well, I think, certainly a place to start is for the Agricultural Commission to sort of, to really kind of look at sort of what would it, if it had a fund, what would it want to,
Yeah,
what were the
yes.
priorities for it? Look, it would have to meet the parameters of the statute, so you kind of read that paragraph and sort of, you would have the authority to do what. And then, I would suggest looking at, with the Ag Commission, because other members are probably less versed in the CPA than you are, but looking at that eligibility chart that's you can find on the coalition's website, or you can find, I think, even on our webpage. We generally, I think we have it part of our submission requirements, and it's part of our annual plan. You can find that chart, which kind of goes through, this is the use, is you can acquire, you can, you go through that chart and kind of, I think amongst the commission, really talk that through. Say, okay, the statute wouldn't let us do this, CPA, kind of a Venn diagram. The CPA wouldn't let us do this, because that fund is also eligible for donations, contributions from any source, once it's active.
Yeah.
So, and then come back to us as where we can really talk more freely and openly about sort of, with some time to think it through, what you all are thinking, I think would be great. Okay, any other questions or thoughts on, but this seems to have wheels. It seems to have
Exciting.
wheels.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. We have our FY '27 needs plan and needs assessment to work on, and this fall, and so the process we've typically taken is to invite people who have submitted proposals before the planning board, select board, finance committee, to offer us suggestions and comments on our current plan. are these things, that, are these still the right priorities, goals, strategies? Are there specific projects that we ought to have on a radar screen and send that out, request input from folks? We typically would have in November a public hearing in which people could come and speak, and we would look at anything written that we've gotten back from folks. And then in December, we would finalize a plan for fiscal '27, put it on our webpage, and then people applying in January will have that information. So I think we're kind of, if anyone has some ideas about doing this differently, should we, I think that's what I just want to make sure. If we want to approach this a little bit differently, I know we had talked to Magnolia, maybe a survey would make sense, but she's not here, so I don't think that's a viable thing to add.
Well, a survey might work because the housing production plan, they did a little survey online, and they got 100, so one of the suggestions was, let's put it in Dartmouth Weekly. Online in Dartmouth Weekly, and that's how they got 413 back, okay?
And also send it home with a backpack for the schools.
Yes, right. So I think that you could still do that, buddy. And, I think Dartmouth Weekly might do that for nothing, okay? And the backpack's a wonderful idea, and I think we should do it.
We'd have to come up with some questions.
Yeah, well, we have to get questions, yeah.
It's just a blank
Right.
survey.
What are your thoughts?
What are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
So if we decided we wanted to add like a survey, get some response to folks about the use of CPA funds and project priorities kind of thing, we would have to come up with some questions and get something out so that we had some information no later than our November meeting.
When are we gonna meet with the other people? Send it out to the town side?
I would send stuff out to people in the next couple of weeks.
So we should have
To
something.
give them a good month to get back to us before our November meeting.
I was gonna say, take the information, some of it's come, if it's some of the things that they brought up that, and we see some type of overlap, put those questions out, if they're coming from the town, and anything else that we come up with in the meantime.
Yeah, we just wouldn't have time to turn that around for this information for this plan, though. That's the only thing. If there are some folks who wanted to work on a few questions, that we certainly don't want don't want it to be a big thing. But if there's some folks, we could put together a little subcommittee to come up with some questions that might give us some information about priorities that people have for the CPA, how the CPA funds are used.
People have no idea what CPA is, so
Yeah, that's a
that's the
problem.
problem.
Yeah,
I know that there's a group out there now that, we had some discussion earlier about a meeting that they had at the Council on Aging. It's part of the long-term plan. There's some type of committee that's out there now. They had a meeting about Dartmouth Memorial Stadium, the rec center, and COA.
oh, yes, right, the big capital things,
Capital
yeah.
improvements, yeah, so I mean,
We can't participate in any of those in any meaningful
No.
way.
I just use that as an example. Those are things that
Yeah.
are, those are things that have come up in surveys in the past. They've kind of been targeted by the residents, that is a priority. So that's why they're talking about it. Now they're trying to put in some type of classification.
Yeah.
I mean, they keep rehashing the same things, same old. The residents have spoken. I think the last survey was, we had over 1,000 people respond back.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was a recreation center in the council.
Oh,
on Aging.
okay.
Yeah, so they just keep on rehashing it. So I mean, surveys are nice, but if the things don't act on them, then they're just a waste of time.
I think this is where we ended up last time.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
there is no purpose to the survey and we're not gonna do anything with the data, then why do the survey?
I mean, we know, people come to see ours, they know what it is for the most part. We've, you know, I think we've put it out there that the CPC is available to do different things or whatever. If they want projects, people will come in to see us. I mean, we see the same people over and over again because
Right.
essentially that's all that we can spend the money on. It's the same group, same co-conspirators that come in to get the stuff because they're the ones that are active in trying to do, good for whatever sector it is. Could be farms, housing, recreation, whatever, open space. It's the same people over and over again. There's really nobody else that's out there that I could see. I mean, let's go back in the history of this board. How many other people have come through? Basically, nobody. And I think we've put this out before. I think we've had these discussions before. I mean, you want to put a survey, yeah, I'm good. I think that if we just talk to the groups that are involved now, and then put that out there, that these groups, maybe it'll stimulate somebody else to come forward, but. Again, that's just me.
I think this is where we
Yeah.
ended up last time was
Yeah.
that, this is where we ended up, I think, with Magnolia, is
Right.
it would be great for people to understand what the
Right.
CPC is, and maybe some groups that we don't know about
Correct.
who might be eligible, might learn about it and come forward, so.
But we
do-
lost that mechanism.
We lost that mechanism, but it's more, do we want a marketing campaign sort of thing? Now it's all coming back from last time.
Yeah.
A marketing campaign or a survey, like what would be most beneficial?
I thought she was gonna put something out there and trying to, what is CPC and kind of put it out there, on the social media side
Yeah.
to draw people to it,
Yeah.
which may stimulate other people to see about coming in with some different ideas. But again, until we get the new Magnolia, or the TikTok girl, whatever you wanna call her, until we get that new person in place, the social media side, because that's where unfortunately, that's where everything's leaning, to put information out there. But you're the boss, man, whatever you wanna do.
Well, no, that's that's a committee thing about what, but I don't sense that we all think that it's important to do for our planning purpose. But not necessarily not something to do if we could figure out, and that's probably something to do with the new Magnolia, is what's this person's idea about how we could, what would be something interesting, useful?
As you know, put it out there, he come look at the site, look at these new projects were out there, I think that was the whole thing, you can click a map, find out what this is, you can read it, I mean, we're coming up on the, America's birthday again next year, so we're trying to, we could probably tie it in with that, draw more people into the history side of all the things that we did, but that requires somebody to put it out there.
Okay.
That's way above my pay grade, that, online stuff. I'm a boomer, so I'm struggling through this new social media thing. It's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah, don't look at me, yeah.
I don't do it either.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Okay, so, well, let's,
on you.
we'll have a conversation with the new Magnolia at some point when that person's hired,
Yeah.
because we know we want to get back to some of the improvements on our webpage. And we will come back to that.
Online stuff.
Question of survey and something that maybe is
Yeah.
more tuned to marketing and promoting, educating people about the CPC.
Yeah,
and
and
the
even if they don't
CPA
hire anybody
funds.
right away, I mean, we can reach out to the school. I mean, some of those kids are super sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we can get somebody in, one
Well,
of
let's
those,
see,
if they don't get anybody here, I mean, who knows, yeah,
but
maybe.
we're not thinking of it as information for our planning
No.
for FY '27. Okay. And so we'll follow the same process. I'll send out our current plan and say we're going to be reviewing this. What are their comments on, and are there priorities and projects that we need to be aware of, and particularly the historic, from the Historic Commission, are there things out there that we need to be thinking about? And maybe there is data and information from the production plan work that might be,
Right.
might be helpful. So,
It's interesting about the survey, Buddy, because the 100 people that
yeah,
first took it, and they had certain things that they thought, what style house, blah, blah, blah. But the 400 came back almost meeting it exactly the same.
oh, interesting.
I
Yeah.
thought that was very interesting,
The
okay?
responses are very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah,
So I guess the people that are gonna answer a survey, you know.
Yeah, the people who have, who
Right.
see it, have
Yeah.
time to answer it.
Right.
Have time to think about it,
Right.
all agree. But,
Any other interesting findings in that survey?
Not really, I mean, you'll get it, I'll send everything to Michelle. What's interesting is, I went through multiple listing service, and I got all the sales from January of 2000, I don't know if you saw that, 2024 to up to date, which would be in August when we had the meeting. And everybody was kind of shocked. I think there were 353 houses that sold in Dartmouth. And they were, for the most part, there were 400s, there were some houses for 400, 500, $600,000. A lot of them over $1 million. And I gave it to the town planner and I gave it to Serped, okay? There was 353 houses sold.
Well, how many residences are there in town?
Oh, geez, I used to know that figure.
Pull a number, I pulled 8,000 out of the air, but,
No, 10, maybe 10,000? I hope I'm right,
so I mean,
because,
that's,
right,
you know,
353 residences
3 or
sold.
4%
Yes, right.
of the town housing stock in a year and a half, 2% a year.
right.
That doesn't sound like a large number.
Well, people are not selling right now for several reasons, even people that want to move up because the interest rates are high. So they're not moving up. Now, the rates are supposed to come down. I think at 7%. I bought my first house at 9%. So,
I did one at 18, but.
all right. So I think that, but again, my first house cost $29,000. All right, not $700,000. But I think the interest rate, people are fixing up their houses rather than selling their houses because, but I think if the rates drop again, you will see a big dramatic change in house sales. I really believe that.
In the Globe article, they're saying that in Bristol County had the highest increase in
Right.
sales, something like a 6% increase in this, than any other place in the state. And then went on to describe
Because
why
we
that-
have some
why
of the
that might be.
cheapest housing prices in Fall River and New Bedford.
Yeah.
If you look at the sales in New Bedford, you're shocked. I mean, far out past all the suburbs, New Bedford and Fall River. And the housing isn't cheap. I mean, they're buying single-family homes for $450,000, $500,000,
Twice what they were 5 years ago.
3 times. Really,
And half of what the median price is in Boston. which is-
right.
Well,
Yeah, so it's interesting. Okay, so there, more to come on housing, that's for sure. That's what I have for our agenda. Any other business that we should be aware of?
next meeting,
This meeting is going to be
14th,
14th, October 14th.
I have a conflict, buddy.
Okay,
I will not be able to attend unless something changes.
duly noted, duly noted. Okay, I've a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
so moved.
Second, any further discussion? Thank you all for being here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.